Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Colonial Sports Center, and a little bit of a different look tonight. As always, I'm Greg Sutton, but tonight alongside me, Logan Carney.
Great to be back, Greg, as always.
And Logan, tonight we have a trio of special guests with us tonight. One of those being Luke Yost, one of our women's basketball analysts, and Aneka Azebo, and they're going to sit down tonight and talk about her season this last year and kind of the role she played for the team.
But before that, Greg, you're going to have a chance to sit down with our men's hockey analyst, Matthew Simkovic Jr., and really break down, what happened in the postseason in Rochester.
And while you're talking about that postseason appearance, let's jump right into that. The Colonials traveled up to Rochester, New York to take on the Mercyhurst Lakers for the fifth time this year, four times, in the regular season, losing 2 and winning 2, and they were hoping to get that fifth win, that tiebreaker win, and send themselves back to the AFC Championship. But let's jump to Rochester and see how the Colonials fared in that semifinal game. All right, so we're going to jump into the third period of action. This is where things got really exciting for both teams. Taylor Best there, the first goal, didn't score more than 1 goal per game this season. And as we see that again, Taylor Best just getting the good shot there. This time we're going to see Daniel Mantenuto with his 9th career goal for the Colonials, digging it out from under a defender and just burying the puck in the back of the net. Now we're going to see the Mercyhurst Lakers kind of driving their way down into the Colonial zone. And with that, they're going to get a good goal off screen from Derek Berrig, his 8th multi-point game this season for the Mercyhurst Lakers. And this time we'll see the Lakers driving and working hard again. And this time, Joseph Duzic tied for the most amount of assists on the team with 23 assists on the season. Goal Brady Ferguson, his 3rd career hat trick for him in a Colonials uniform in his 4 years here. And there we seen the game-winning goal in overtime by Michael Loria, his first game-winning goal of his Colonial career. The Colonials would win the game 5-4, defeating the Mercyhurst Lakers. Although it took some of an overtime period to reach a verdict, Brady Ferguson was able to grab a hat trick. The hero of the night, though, Michael Loria, scoring the game-winning goal 6 minutes and 42 seconds into bonus hockey with his first game-winning goal in a Colonial uniform. The Colonials would now advance to the championship game the next day for a chance at revenge against the Air Force Falcons.
After defeating Mercyhurst in the semifinal game, the Robert Morris Colonials advanced to the championship game for the 3rd consecutive year, and they would take on Air Force in a rematch of last year's game. Let's get into the highlights. As you see here, Andrew Picall taking over for Francis Marat in the game after they were down 4-0 at this time. Francis Marat finished the day with 13 saves. You see one of 14 saves by Picall here to make a great one, and that'll keep the Colonials somewhat in this, as they were only down by 3 at the time. See, bringing down the ice now is Alex Robert, who's just 1 goal on the season, as he brings the puck up on a breakaway, but no, it would be a great save by the netminder for Air Force. He had 35 saves in the game. Kyle Hack coming off the ice, knocked down immediately, coming on the ice rather, but he would return in the game. He skated off, but he would return and hit the empty netter, which would make the score 5-1, and that would be the final score of the game. Now, the Robert Morris Colonials fell to Air Force for the 2nd consecutive year. The lone goal Robert Morris scored was by Nick Perkusik in the 2nd and only brought the team within 3 goals. Lieutenant Francis Marat made just 13 saves and was pulled in the 2nd period. Now I'm going to send it to Greg Sutton, who has met with our men's hockey analyst, Matthew Simkovic Jr., as they break down this loss.
And Matt, I would just like to thank you personally for coming on tonight, taking time out of your very busy schedule, as I know, to come and talk to us about these postseason games. And why don't we just jump right into the action? So,
let's get to it.
From your hockey eye, as I would like to say, what did you see in that first game against Mercyhurst that allowed Robert Morris to overcome the troubles that they have there later in the season?
One of the most important things that I saw in that game was the resiliency by the Colonials, specifically Brady Ferguson. Anytime that the Mercyhurst Lakers came down and scored a goal, no one on the Colonials team really looked flustered. They all kind of buckled down and said, I'm going to go out there and we're going to make that right play and we're going to go get the next one. And Brady Ferguson had all 3 in regulation, but that was just a very big thing to see on the roster, was that no one was really flustered. It was all just resilient, and they really bounced back from every challenge that they faced.
So would you say the defense was a part of that resiliency, being tied 4-4 taking the regulation? Do you think that could have played a part in that that struggle there in the overtime period?
Oh, absolutely. You know, defense is Mercyhurst has a really offensive game. They were the #1 seed in the AHC for a reason. They fought to get there, and they really blatantly outscored their opponents. That's how you have to win games and get to the #1 seed, and that's exactly what they did. So the Colonials' defensive zone really locked that down and was able to help Francis Murat out as much as possible, and they were able to get out of there with a win.
And so with that win under their belt, they headed to the AHC championship game, just as the way they had the past 2 seasons. And what did you see in that game that kind of looked different from the Mercyhurst matchup?
In that game, there really wasn't any resiliency. They really got down on themselves early. At the end of the first period, the score was 3-0, I believe. So it was there wasn't really any drive by the Colonials early on. The Falcons from Air Force were able to come out and they stepped on the Colonials, capitalized on their early mistakes, and were able to get that lead early and hold on to it for the rest of the night.
And so you have to give credit, though, to the goaltender for Air Force, Billy Christopoulos. He's been great. He was great whenever he came to Robert Morris that first time towards the end of the season there. And he was great once again being able to give the Air Force Falcons that gap that they needed. What did you see from him that you didn't see on the other side of the ice with Francis Murat?
From him, you know, to put it simple, he won the tournament MVP for the AHC championship for the entire weekend. In the entire weekend, he let up 1 goal, and that was by Nick Percusic. He was an absolute rock in net for the Falcons at the Air Force, and with that key role in place, it's really easy to, you can let some of your other aspects of your game slip a little bit because you don't have to worry about goaltending as being an issue.
All right, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said earlier, we really like having you on. You have great insight to the game. But now we're going to jump to that men's lacrosse game that happened this past weekend against the they beat nationally ranked Marquette. They were back home this past Saturday against the Sacred Heart Pioneers. They were looking to extend their streak to a 4-game winning streak here right before the conference play started. So let's jump to those highlights over there down at Joe Walton Stadium. First goal here we're going to see is by Adrian Torbeck-Oren. So the next goal we see is Matt Schmidt. He has scored 4 goals and leads the team with a total of 17 goals in the season, even though that hasn't quite matched the total that the one Sacred Heart University player had. Max Tuttle for the Pioneers, not in this highlight reel here, but on the season he has 28 goals, 2 of them coming in this game, and he leads Sacred Heart with that total of goals for the team. And also leading Robert Morris on the points side of things, Jimmy Perkins leads the team with 17 assists on the season. And Logan, that just shows how good this Robert Morris men's lacrosse team is.
Oh, they're deep. We're probably one of the deeper teams that we have here on campus, and that's why they're one of the top teams in the country.
It is. They work together well. Everybody on that team has a chance of scoring, but the Colonials would overcome the Pioneers of Sacred Heart by a score of 12-8. And Robert Morris University was able to defeat them, as I said, and bump that win streak up to 4 in a row and extending their in-season record to 5 wins and 2 losses. Matt Schmidt was the only Colonial able to score more than 1 goal, contributing 4 goals to the Colonials' cause, leaving him with 17 goals midway through the season and leading the team in goals scored by doing so. The next Colonials matchup will be on the road in Maryland against Mount St. Mary's on Saturday.
After losing the NEC Championship game to St. Francis, the women's basketball team here at Robert Morris earned a bid to the NIT. The team would travel to Drexel to take on the Dragons. And let's get into those highlights. At the game, the team lost by the final score of 57-44. In the game, Megan Smith was the Colonials' leading scorer. She finished the night with 9 points on 4 of 8 shooting. Star players such as Hinoka Ikematsu struggled, though, as she went just 1 for 7 from her usual strong point of 3-point shooting. The team also turned the ball over a total of 22 times, while only generating 12 from Drexel. This loss ended the Colonial season with a final record of 25-8 and 16-2 in conference play. Now we're going to send it over to Luke Yost, who's standing by with one of the players. And before that, my apologies, we're actually going to send it to a break here, so don't go anywhere as we'll return with Luke Yost standing by with one of our players here, Robert Morris.
But I prefer a tripod. I was your above-average 4-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
To be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want.
I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing.
To be able to see students become successful after Robert Morris is really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Back to Colonial Sports Center, and let's just jump over to Lukia sitting down with Nneka Ezebo.
Thanks, Greg. I'm here with RMU women's basketball player Nneka Ezebo. Now, this was a breakout year for you. What did you do in the off-season to prepare for this year?
We did a lot of lifting, and we've done a lot of practices where we just ran over stuff and got to know each other as a team and try to connect. We did a lot of pickup games, and we just tried to do a few drills before season so that we're ready for like practices during season.
Now, what did Coach B and the other coaches do for you that individually that helped you out in this year?
Well, they helped me to expand my variety down in the post. My post game expanded from me doing about 1 or 2 moves freshman year to having different moves that I could do in the post this year, which helped me a lot. They've also helped to try to expand my range in shooting. So during the season, I tried to shoot a little bit more from about 15, 17 feet. And also looking to kick out and also working on like double teaming and all that.
And you know, you came off the bench this year in the games. You provided a spark. What did you do while you were on the bench, game in and game out, to mentally prepare yourself for that?
One, I did a little bit of like focusing on paying attention to the defense, what they're doing, paying attention to my team and what we need. Trying to bring a little bit of passion. I also did a little prayer in my head, of course, before I went onto the court. A lot of it was just trying to focus on my team and what we need, so that's what I did.
And you talked about passion, and it seems like nobody else has more passion than Megan Smith on the floor, and Michaela Morin were both seniors. They were very important to the team's success this year. What did they do, how did they help you individually to get where you're at today?
Both of them tried to drill into me like focusing and not getting into my head and don't letting one thing affect my next move, trying to brush off a lot of my mistakes because I can admit that that's what I tend to do, where if I mess up, it tends to stick with me a little bit. So they try to help me to brush it off and keep playing the way I know how to play.
And you seem to gel well with Michaela Mulray on the court this year. What has she taught you, just being a player and being a leader, heading into next season for your junior year?
She's taught me to stay focused. Like I said, to keep brushing my mistakes off, keep working hard, to always listen and try to do my best to produce for what's best for the team. So that's what I do.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Nneka.
Thank you. Nice to
Have
meet
a good luck next season. Now we're going to go back to Logan and Greg on the desk for more Colonial Sports Center.
Thanks, guys. Now, the football team has started their spring practices recently, and our very own Samuel Anthony had the chance to head down there to Joe Walton Stadium and give us an update here in the booth on how the team is progressing with their new head coach.
Spring practice is in full swing here at Joe Walton Stadium on the campus of Robert Morris University, and one can already feel a change under brand new head coach Bernard Clark. There are plenty of new faces as the 2018 season approaches for the Colonials, as Clark has brought on 8 new members of the coaching staff, including brand new offensive and defensive coordinators. Clark says through the first 2 weeks of camp, the team has transitioned well.
So far it's been good. The great thing about it is the young men are eager to learn. They're busting their butts, doing what we're asking them to do. They're eager to learn. Still got a long way to go. We feel that way, but the transition has been good because they want to learn, they want to grow.
One of the biggest questions surrounding the start of the season has been who will be the starting quarterback for the opening game against the Dayton Flyers. Jimmy Walker was last year's starter and looks to fight to keep his role, while he may have some competition in LSU transfer Caleb Lewis, who made the move to RMU with hopes of earning the starting role. But there is yet a third option in QB turned wide receiver turned QB once again in Matthew Barr, who has been seen taking reps at quarterback. Coach Clark says as of right now, every starting position is up for grabs.
I mean, the thing about it is there's no concrete starters anywhere, to be honest with you. That's in any position, especially at the quarterback position. So it's one of those situations where we're just sitting back and evaluating everyone every day. We're competing every day. So that's where we sit right now.
The main emphasis of spring camp for Clark has been the idea of building a brand new culture. Practice has certainly picked up intensity as music constantly plays while players are never seen walking, an attempt to make the most of every last second of playing time.
The culture has to change. We have to understand, the great thing about life is winning is a very contagious thing, but unfortunately so is losing. So we got to understand our culture has to change. They have to want to do it. They have to want to be a part of it. And understand we have to practice the right way in order to play the right way. Those things are extremely important. It's just like things become a habit, whether it's on the football field or whether it's in the classroom. If you're a person that's always late to class, you're going to be a person that's always messing up on the football field. They coincide with each other, so we got to understand it becomes a culture and they have to treat it like a culture.
Spring camp continues throughout the rest of March and will conclude in mid-April. Once players and coaches break off for the summer, they will return to the field in July, where starters will begin to be named and the brand new RMU Colonials will begin to take shape. This has been Sam Anthony reporting for Colonial Sports Center.
Thanks, Sam. And coming up on Colonial Sports Center, we're going to preview a documentary made by our very own Samuel Anthony, Morgan Torcha, and Brandon Allman about the women's basketball's international recruiting pipeline. So don't go anywhere.
About to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will smoke deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey! Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. And as Logan said before that break, we're going to show you a little bit of a preview of that international pipeline that Robert Morris has coming into their program with players such as Ananiki Stambo-Lamprou, Hanoka Ikamatsu, and a couple other people on the team. They're just people that you wouldn't expect to get places from, such as Finland and Japan and Greece. And Robert Morris goes to those places where other people just quite wouldn't think.
It's really phenomenal, a documentary coming up, and we're going to send it right to you. Why don't we give you guys a little teaser of what the documentary is supposed to look like?
Go hard with your head up, make good decisions. Slow your pace down, the chaser's getting there. Dealing with relationships and feeling the best fits. And we just go with our heart when we know there's a good fit and we know that someone really appreciates. A lot of it has to do with being thankful. It's one of our pillars.
I think it's like richness to have different kind of players, and also Coach B has clear, like he knows what he wants, and it's easy for us to follow his lead.
I think every day is different. Well, we're always laughing in the locker room, always doing something silly.
What was the date on the games?
One of the great things about having international students on a team is you get to learn about so many different cultures.
All right, let's progress now. Let's get better. Let's get our pace right. Your hands right. Communicate to the passer. Make sure you're ready for a zip pass. And let's have our feet right. Load up. All right, load up right. Here we go. Ready?
About the atmosphere. Here, people care more about the sports.
All right, let's do things right now. All right, let's not have to have reminders. Let's not have to have stop and instruction, all right? When we go to our drills now, let's be focused on what we're trying to do in each drill, what we need to do better each day, all right? Here we go, ready? Strong with the ball, good passes, good targets, let's go! If you handle the process really well and we feel a genuine, two-way street there, I think that separates a lot from no matter where you're from.
I've only seen Megan when we were playing against each other, so I never really spoke to her at all. So we came together on that summer team. So it was a nice experience getting to know her, and I thought she was actually nice. She used to look scary in my eyes. She has scary eyes.
Be sure to check that out. That's going to be Saturday at 7 p.m. here in Hopwood Hall in Robert Morris. Now we're going to move on to the Robert Morris women's lacrosse team as they hosted St. Bonaventure on Sunday. This comes after the team was coming off a 4-game losing streak. Let's take a look as they see how they fared against the Bonnies. The women's lacrosse team fared well as it defeated the Bonnies by a score of 11-6. 2 players had hat tricks for Robert Morris, and Shannon Lynch and Carrie Safari, while Dana Davis and Sophia Eureka each had 2. The only other Colonial to score was Milani Gandy. Caitlin Miller only had to make 13 saves in the Colonial victory.
And as the early season struggles of softball, they were hoping to kind of turn things around, playing against Dayton twice this past weekend, and once against Fort Wayne, and once against Michigan. And we're going to have to wait and see here in a second to see how they fared in those 4 games this past weekend. But their early season struggles just couldn't seem to let up. And as we see here, they just continue to struggle in this early season in the Miami, Ohio Invitational. Robert Morris in the first game against Dayton dropped it 2-1. A big thing that we've been seeing lately, another blowout against Robert Morris. Miami being able to score 16 with Robert Morris has won. Fort Wayne with 10, Michigan with 14, and Dayton with 10 again. And just another rough weekend for the Robert Morris Colonials on the field. And when we come back, we're going to jump right into those upcoming games. And as I like, one of my new favorite things here on Colonial Sports Center, RMU the week that was, but you're not going to want to go anywhere.
Which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey! Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. And now, Greg, we gave everyone, a look at what happened recently at Robert Morris. Why don't we preview the upcoming games here that's going to take place at Robert Morris?
And just a couple of days here, things start to slow down as the spring semester comes to a close. And one of those things is men's lacrosse at Mount St. Mary's, as I said earlier. The women's track team is starting to get into action against at Wake Forest in the outdoor opener, which is going to be all day. And the women's lacrosse versus Louisville, 1 p.m., all happening this Saturday on March 24th.
And, of course, take a look at Sunday. With the softball team that's going to be at Canisius at 2 p.m. And the rowing is going to be having their first, meet on Sunday as well, with a time still to be determined.
And with that softball team, they've had so many struggles in this early season with blowouts and not being able to put runs on the board. And hopefully that can be a big thing that they can fix this upcoming weekend. But let's jump into my new favorite thing here on Colonial Sports Center, RMU, the week that was.
Seven.
Yeah, he said 7.
Greg, as you can see, it was very exciting, week. Look back, what was your favorite moment from this past week?
Honestly, my favorite moment was the Colonials getting that second chance against Air Force in that AHC championship game.
They really, they played well throughout that whole tournament, unfortunately, till the championship game. But, they really, just struggled and playing phenomenal there. But, it was a great week it was. It was also a great show. And that's all the time that we have. But we will be back same time next week. Good night, everyone.
Not bad show. Couple hiccups, but that happens.